Hey everyone, Josh here again with Penny Pinching Cyclist, and today we're going to be talking about the bike that is behind me. That is an old Schwinn bike that I converted into a gravel bike for only $240. So my original goal was to actually build a gravel bike for under $200. Unfortunately, I wasn't patient enough and I ended up spending a little bit more money on the tires, and there was also some unforeseen expenses that made me spend $40 more than my goal, but it's still a pretty good deal if you could build a bike for $240. So in this video, I want to share with you some of the things that I learned along the way, and maybe even give you a few tips and tricks in case you wanted to build a budget bike yourself. You know, I think for me personally, one of the benefits of doing this was just learning. I love to learn, and this forced me to do things that I had never done on a bike before. Figure out how to put things together that I've never done before, how to take apart and repack bearings, and all that stuff that normally I just would never really consider doing. I would just take it to a bike shop. But being able to actually do those things and not feel bad if I messed up because I have very little money invested in it, it was a pretty cool experience. All right, so the first tip seems like an obvious one, but make sure you have the tools that you need to build the bike, or at least you have access to the tools that you need, whether that be a friend or a neighbor or somebody else, because if you don't have the tools that you need to put the bike together, you're going to end up spending a lot more money on the tools than on the actual bike. So tip number one is make sure you have the tools. The next tip, make sure you're constantly looking on Facebook Marketplace. Now, for this build behind me, that's where I got the majority of parts for this project. I just got in the habit of checking the Facebook Marketplace in the morning and in the evening, and I was able to score some really good deals from people who just wanted to get rid of stuff that was cluttering their garage. So make sure you keep an eye out on Facebook Marketplace. Another great place to check is on Craigslist. Honestly, it's a little bit more sketchy than Facebook Marketplace because you don't have a profile that you can preview before actually meeting the person, so you never know who you're actually going to meet. But there are some pretty good deals on Craigslist. Another thing that I learned is to bookmark and save websites online. Places like Jensen USA, Worldwide Cyclery, Chain Reaction. All of those places typically have a clearance section online, and I was able to score some pretty sweet deals, including a pair of Panaracer Gravel King tires for $50 for the pair. So I was able to save a little bit of money too by just putting on some parts that I had laying around. For instance, the pedals, those I just had in my shop for years. They're kind of nice because they're flat on one side and then the other side is SPD, so it works out with pretty much whatever shoe I'm wearing that day. I was also able to save some money on the seat. I just put an old WTB seat on that I had laying around. Another tip is to make sure you're checking Amazon and eBay regularly. I was able to find a couple of really good purchases on each one of those sites. On Amazon, I bought the Tektro R559 brakes, and for both the front and back, it was only $40, which was a pretty good deal. And then the Micro New R7 brifters I bought on eBay for $35, and I actually had a $5 coupon on there, so it saved me an extra $5. That was really nice. And I actually made a video about those two components, the Micro New R7 brifters and the Tektro R559 brakes, and I'll leave a link in the end of this video so you can check that out if you wanted a little bit more detailed review on those items. Another thing that I learned the hard way is to give yourself a little bit of a cushion in your budget, because there is probably going to be, for sure, some unforeseen things that pop up in your build. So for me, one of those unforeseen things was the fact that the bike behind me didn't have the eyelets for the cables for either the brake or the derailleur in the back. The guy before me that I bought this off of ended up knocking those things off, and so I had to get some clamp-on eyelets, only $8 each, but still that's $16 extra that I didn't account for, so that ate into some of my other items. Another thing that I just totally spaced when I was planning this out was the cost of bar tape. So thankfully, again, I was able to find a really good deal on Worldwide Cyclery. I got some clearance bar tape, I think for like $4.50. So it didn't hurt me that bad, but again, it was just one of those things I wasn't thinking about when I was planning this out. So make sure that you leave a little bit of buffer in your budget to accommodate those unforeseen costs. So I was actually able to find this old Schwinn frame on the Facebook Marketplace, and I picked it up for only 30 bucks. And the guy before me was trying to convert it into a single speed, and he just, I don't know, forgot about it, and it was in the garage. So he let it go for super cheap. And honestly, it was ugly. It was just white and blue. Every inch of this bike was spray painted, including the chain. So I just scrapped it, and then I ended up grinding down the frame to bare metal and then priming it and painting it and then putting a clear coat on it. And so I kind of like the way that it turned out with the candy apple red. But again, the frame plus the paint was only 50 bucks. And then for all of the components and the wheels, I was actually able to find another bike on Facebook Marketplace. It was an old, I don't know, maybe 1999 or 2000 Diamondback road bike. And so I was able to pull the Shimano 105 group set off of that, along with the wheels. And I highly recommend, if you are not a patient person, don't take on building one of these bikes. It took me about 5.5 months to build this bike behind me. Because I was on such a strict budget, it took forever to find the right parts at the right price and then to actually put it all together. So understand that if you're not a very patient person, it's probably better to save a little bit more money, go down to your local bike shop, and then just purchase a bike that's complete. I mean, this bike right here, you know, this is a gravel bike, $240. Poseidon makes an awesome gravel bike for only $599. So for 600 bucks, you know, if you just save up a little bit longer, you can have a complete build with modern geometry, a lot better components that I have on this thing. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking through and deciding whether or not you actually want to do a budget build like this. Hey, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Leave a comment below. I want to hear about some of the bikes that maybe you guys have built. What are some of the tips and tricks that you learned along the way? I would love to dialogue with you guys. And make sure you're following me over on Instagram and Facebook at Penny Pinching Cyclists. See you guys next time.